Hello friends, I am Trilochan. I hope you are safe and healthy. Today we are going to start one podcast on JavaScript with Praful. And this is an episode 1. We learn about basic JavaScript and script tag. Hi Praful, I must say your Twitter post on JavaScript with your sketch note is wonderful. I got inspired to learn JavaScript now. Thank you for joining. Let's begin.
Hi Trilochan, thank you for this opportunity. I really like that you like my sketch notes. This is one of my side project. My main intention is to teach, fundamental of JavaScript to the newbie and the beginners. And I think I really like your idea to create a podcast which will help for the beginners. So hopefully we'll continue, few more videos in coming days. So today we'll discuss about the very basic how we can write a simple hello world program in JavaScript. As you are aware, like JavaScript is very popular nowadays, which can be, you know, we can write program using JavaScript in the client side. That means the program will run in the browser, also in the server side in the Node.js environment. And there are new nowadays Deno also come into the picture. But today we'll mostly focus on the client side browser. Our code will execute.
Okay.
So for for this for this tutorial for the first session, we'll start with the HTML. So I will assume that you have a prerequisite or basic understanding about HTML. You don't need to be master or expert, but basic understanding will help you in understanding this concept much better. Okay.
Okay.
So here we have a simple HTML5 markup. We have defined a HTML tag. Then we have head and body section. Inside the head, we can add the script tag here, and in the script tag we are printing this console.log hello world. This
Okay.
console.log is for the debugging purpose, which is I think slowly we will almost use daily and most of the time this console.log. So this is to print some information into the browser console. In a few minutes I'll show you how it looks like. But in the production, there is no need to put this console.log. This is mostly for the developer centric.
Okay. So
And the
here,
important
Praful, here I got a one question. So like the script tag is mandatory to be in head within the head, or we can define anywhere. Like you have written, can be added anywhere.
Yeah, that is a very good question, Trilochan. As if for newbie or most of the project or example you have seen on the net, the script tag is almost everywhere written into the head tag.
Yes.
But I would like to stress the point that the script tag can be added anywhere. And for the performance optimization reason, it is recommended to use before the body. If you are trying to load or execute a little bit more JavaScript code, sometimes it will be better to add before the body tag. Lot of but for the newbie, you can add in the header section just to make it code cleaner. But technically, it can be added anywhere else. Is that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. I got it. Yeah.
And also, that script tag, right? The whatever the JavaScript code we have written, which will be executed top to down or executed immediately when the JavaScript code will pass the message. For example, it's a title, and it will do what it needs to be do for the hello JavaScript. It will assign you the title type. Then it will execute the script tag and execute all the JavaScript code. At the same time, the H1 happy learning is not being loaded. So the browser will execute the code whenever it sees it. So this will lead to some more confusion. Maybe second video will discuss more about that. So if you try to manipulate this head one, for example, make you want to assign some color or something you want to do, so high chance it may not work here, because at this point of execution of this console.log, it doesn't know that browser doesn't know that h1 is exist here. So we have to use on body load. That is a different concept we'll cover later. but it will be executed one by one. Okay,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or a bit
Yeah.
confusing.
No, it's fine. It's clear now.
Okay, now let us see some example, and we'll try to write this code and try to execute it and see it how it looks like in the actually browser.
Yes.
So for the writing the code, I'm using Visual Studio Code in the left hand side. It is a very popular and you can download over the net. It is by Microsoft Visual Studio Code. We can provide link in the description.
Yes.
And in the right hand side, I'm using the Chrome browser. This is like the full screen mode, so the title and the address bar it is hidden, but you can use this is normal Chrome browser. This first one is the display thing, and second one is the inspector window. I go to it by right clicking it and clicking on the inspect, so this will appear.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so here it is a simple HTML tag, and this H1 tag is being displayed. Happy learning. So just to write our first tag. So if you notice here, the automatically auto suggestion is coming here. That is one of the benefit of using code editor, for example VS Code. You no need to type everything and by yourself. So if you type SC, so script is coming. So if I press enter, so it is automatically creating the tag for us. It is really enjoy to work.
Wow. It's a useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, very much useful. And also there are lots of different snippet, but we can discuss later. But so this is also see console.log is getting printed.
Yes.
Okay, we have typed in the hello world inside the page, and right hand side we have to go and reload the page. Reload. So if you see below,
Wow.
so this is just for debugging purpose.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
this
very
is
simple.
the user who. Yeah, go ahead, Trilochan.
No, I just said it's very simple. Just console.log hello world. Like in Java or PHP, that's echo and print we are using.
Yes, it is exactly same. I think in almost every programming language there is some flavor of it and how to use it. So this console.log is a way to print some information, quickly.
Yes.
But one point to remember very clearly that this is for debugging purpose or for the developer.
Yes.
This is not for your end user or the user who is coming to your website. They'll only see this happy learning. It is
Yes.
just for debugging. And production, it is recommended to disable it. Only
Okay.
in the development mode, you should enable some kind of logging
Mhm.
just to get some, your debugging experience better. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And also, you can write any JavaScript code here. For example, let me, define two variable. Inside this console log, we can do some kind of mathematical operation as well. A dot B. See, 35 is printed. That means you can write any JavaScript code over here. Okay, is that making sense?
Yes, got it.
Okay. Now coming to the second concept. In most of the time, the JavaScript code, whatever we written just now, which is printing hello world and doing some mathematical calculation, is known as inline JavaScript.
Okay.
Inline means we write the JavaScript inside the same HTML file.
Okay.
So which is fine for if you want to line, few lines of
Mhm.
code, for example, 10 or 20 lines, even 20 is bigger side. But in most of the project, you'll end up writing a separate JavaScript file. For example, our JavaScript file is app.js. App stands for application, which is a common file naming convention.
Okay.
And these are known as attribute. Source, SRC is the source. Where is your source is located? located.
Yes, it's
And there
similarly
is another attribute known as type.
it's similar to like CSS, external CSS, internal CSS, inline CSS, like that. Like
Yes, exactly. It is following the similar convention. How you can give the naming convention to the CSS, because both are HTML, CSS, and HTML JavaScript.
yes, yeah, got it.
So here the source file is not only that file which is located alongside HTML, but also you can point to some of the external file or URL. For example, if you want to load a font,
Hmm.
you can just point that font file to a Google font engine, or you want to download jQuery, that is one of the very popular query languages. So there is a concept known as CDN.
Yes,
So you can point to that. So they'll host your file on your behalf. So you'll get some better, the version will be updated for your security reason, or you'll getting it would be distributed across all the different servers. So you'll get to download it much more faster. So not only the local file what you are creating, but also some of the library file is by means of a URL like HTTP, and you can go HTTPS and the entire URL you can give. It will work just fine.
okay,
And there is another interesting attribute, type. So this will, here we have given text / JavaScript, but we can give text or plain text, and there are so many different way, and for class and for different category. But because JavaScript is so popular, HTML find recommendation is to omit it. By default, it will use as a text / JavaScript. You don't need to write this again and again.
okay. So in for JavaScript file, we don't need to mention this type tag, right? So we can omit particular
Yes,
this.
it is
Yeah.
completely optional.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So now let me show you some example. Just let me get rid of it. Just before that, I just copied the same code over here, app.js. I just created another file
Okay.
into the same directory.
Hmm.
So this HTML and file are located into the same local directory. Okay.
Okay.
So it is app.js file, and it is available here. So we have two variable, and it is printing the addition of those two variable. So using the lesson just explained script, we can use this source. See, it is very convenient to use this Visual Studio Code.
Mm.
See, the source tag
Yes.
came, and we can use
.js.
app.js. So it is also coming. So you will never go wrong by mistyping it. So the 30, it should print 65. Now if you see, it is printing 35 only because it's the old code.
Yes.
Now it should reflect and print the 65. Let me reload it.
Yes.
65.
Yes.
That means we are able to refer a external file here, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah. So you can write any number of your JavaScript function. Slowly we'll cover each and every topic, how you can write if else condition, arrays, object, function, and different you can go wild.
Yes.
But this is just an entry. So hope you get some idea about how people write JavaScript code.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, this is not very common, and very less people know it. So we can write like application / JSON type over here, and we can just put all the JavaScript code inside the script tag. Handy as a performance improvement stage. So whenever client requests to the server, so at the initial rendering page, you can load a JSON file inside the script tag. For example, the reference data, for example, some zip code number, cities, countries, which are not going to change. So you don't need to call a server again to fetch that information. So you can load it one time only,
Okay.
and you can use across your program.
What I understand here, So we don't need to call API, external API to fetch the data, but we can like initialize some data and use in our application, right?
Yeah, exactly. This will help you in terms of improving that performance at some point, some website, because the network call usually one of the key factor which causing some kind of delay or some kind of performance latency inside many of the website. So it is always people who are really centric about performance optimization, they're thinking about the different ways to how they can able to reduce the network call. So they want to do less and less API calls. So there is a bit balance between how many calls you need, but it is a topic which needs to be explored in terms of performance optimization of your JavaScript code.
Okay.
But for the JavaScript, you may not use it, just for kind of information sake. Okay.
Okay.
And before we wrapping up our discussion today, so I would like to mention two, important attribute added in our script tag. So this is we can add, like for example, source and type. We can add this to tag. Okay, there is no need to give any value, so we can just assign like defer or async.
Okay.
So this is a newly addition in HTML5 attribute. So what exactly does this do? If you remember here, here I have mentioned with the emphasis that this code will be executed immediately before the browser parses the page, right? So before your HTML DOM element is completed rendering into the page, your code is be executed. So if you want to do any manipulation, it doesn't work out. Okay, but what if you want to download this code and start executing after this H1 is getting displayed? Can you do that? Exactly, that is this attribute should do the achieve the same result, whatever I just explained. So for example, defer. So this external script executed when the page finished parsing. So when the page completed the finished parsing or created a tree structure, where it is a browser terminology, little bit internal concept. So we'll discuss more about DOM. So when this page finished parsing, it know what are H1 tag, how many table or li tag you have. Then this external script is being executed. So you don't need to do any other thing. Just mentions the default. It won't execute it immediately. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is an interesting. Like I actually always thought how can I load my HTML first, then I will load the JavaScript file. So it's a JavaScript is heavy sometimes. So yeah, the defer tag will help me to do that.
Yeah, it is a really bit interesting concept. And also there are many. There are another one thing is async. So because if you are trying to download a big file and you don't want to execute the code, but rather you want to download it whenever your HTML is parsing and keep it into your browser case. So while the page is continuing the parsing, because let's say you have thousands of elements, if you're looking into Facebook or Twitter, there are so many small elements. So when this page or the browser is continuing to understand like HTML, H1, H2 tag and trying to parsing it, so parallelly on the background, you'll try to download the external file and paste it and store it into your local storage. This is what browser is doing. Now once your H2 parsing is completed, then you will start executing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I can say the JavaScript is very interesting. It's interesting to learn these things. Thank you so much, Praful, for introducing the JavaScript to me. It's a funny language, you can say.
Yes, yes. There are lots of small weird things. We'll slowly discover each and everything. I think if you're following me in Twitter, so you may be seeing lots of my,
Yes,
quizzes and
only
lots of
that
different notes.
only that Twitter actually I got inspired. I should learn some JavaScript basic concepts. I know the backend engineering, software engineering, and some stuffs in backend language, PHP, Pythons I know, but JavaScript is I know some like basic JavaScript, but don't know the basic like concept, deeper concept on JavaScript. Yeah, it actually helps me a lot.
No problem. We'll learn together. Whatever that I knew till now, I'll try to share it across to everyone so that get benefited. And I am also learning on the process.
Yes, this podcast actually for the newbie and for me also, I am learning, and that same thing we'll share on YouTube so that everyone can learn from this.
Definitely. Sounds good. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Tirlochan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Praful. Bye bye.
Bye bye.